Good morning, boys and girls. I hope that you had a great weekend. It was some nice weather outside, so hopefully you were able to spend some time outdoors. Today, our video is covering packet number 4, day 6. So we are in the first day of the second week of packet number 4. So like I said, packet 6, day 6 of packet 4. Thank you to those of you who have been sending in work. We are working to get that feedback to you as quickly as possible. We appreciate your patience, and we are making sure to record that your child has turned in work for that subject as we receive it. So if you only send us work for their reading, we can only mark that they've turned in reading. For math, we would have to put not turned in. So please make sure to send us something from each subject so we don't have to give them a not turned in for something. So if you're looking at your packet, like I said, we're looking at day 6. And when we look at the language arts section, so that's our reading and writing and things like that, the first thing is a phonological awareness activity. It says practice manipulating sounds in one-syllable words. So we did this a lot in school. So this should not be anything that's new or confusing to the students. So there's an example there, though. It says, so if the word were fine, and this is me talking to your parent or adult right now, you would say the word fine, and then the student would say it. And then you would say, now say fine, but change the f to m. You're not saying the letter name, you're saying the sound. So you'd say, now say fine, but change the f to m. And then the student would say, mine. So you're going to repeat that for the words given. So the words are slide, float, plane, clash, and blend. And you're going to follow that same kind of little script for each one. And it tells you in the right-hand column what you're changing, what sounds you're changing in the word, and what their response should be. So you'll do that for those 5 words that are left. And that's all just orally. They shouldn't be writing any of that down. They're just speaking that to you. It's just testing if they're able to manipulate sounds when they hear them. So after that, we have a reading section, and it says reread Planet Blip Blop to your favorite stuffed animal or a family member. So we read this last week, but since we've had a weekend in between, we might have forgotten a little bit. So I will read it to you again now, and then you need to read it to your favorite stuffed animal or a family member. So let me pull this up. Planet Blip Blop. Fred is in the Slab Glab Spy Club. Cliff and Clem are in the club too. Fred, Cliff, and Clem will plan a trip. They have to plan a trip to take a bag of stuff to Planet Blip Blop. Their pal Slim lives on Blip Blop. He has to have the stuff in the bag. Let's get on with it, said Fred. We have to plot a plan. This map will tell us how to get to Slim. A clan of bad blobs lives on Planet Blip Blop. They live in the hills and they bleed blue blood. Cliff and Clem need a fast sled to get over the hills. Clem and Cliff went to Planet Blip Blop. Their pal Slim lives on Red Clam Hill. When they got to Blip Blop, they went on a fast sled to Red Clam Hill. Look out, yelled Cliff. It is a blob trap. Clem fell in the trap. I am a clod, said Clem. I tripped into the blob trap. Clem flipped and flopped, but he did not get out of the trap. Clip this on and I will pull you out before the blobs come, said Cliff. Cliff pulled Clem out of the trap. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry, so that's why I'm kind of having to hesitate a little bit. Cliff pulled Clem onto the sled. Then they went to Red Clam Hill. They put a flag on top of the hill. Just then, a man clad in blue popped up. I am Slim, and I am glad to see you, he said. Cliff and Clem gave Slim the bag of stuff. Slim put Cliff and Clem on a magic rug. When Slim clapped his hands, Cliff and Clem jetted home. Slim got the stuff. Clem and Cliff went home. So that was Planet Blip Blop. And even though I just read it to you, now it's your job to either read it to your favorite stuffed animal or a family member. So that's what you're doing for reading, rereading Planet Blip Blop. And then next is handwriting. So it says, use the letter formation cards located in the resource section as a guide for this activity. Ask the student to write the lowercase letters of the alphabet, A through M on one line and N through Z on another line. So just like we've practiced before, you would do A, B, C, D, all the way to M, and you would fill in all the letters in between, and then the next line will be N, all the letters to Z on the next line. And that's the lowercase letters. So it says the student should say either the name of the letter or the sound the letter makes as they write each letter. This should not take longer than 3 to 4 minutes. So while you're writing the letters of the alphabet, you need to either say the name of the letter while you write it or say the sound that the letter makes while you write it. And then at the end, look at all your letters and pick one letter that maybe you had trouble with or you didn't make correctly, and you are going to practice writing that letter correctly. And you can use the letter formation cards at the end of the packet to help you if need be. Those are at the very end and they look like this. These cards, they give you directions on how to properly form each letter. So if you need to look at that while you're practicing correcting the letter that you had trouble with, you can. So if you had trouble making the lowercase letter F, you would choose that letter and practice it by itself for a while until you're comfortable making it correctly. We shouldn't be picking a ton of letters to practice. If just pick one that you had trouble with after you wrote the whole alphabet to practice more. So now I'm going to go back up. And then it says optional. Watch the WHRO Learn to Grow segment from 1:15 to 1:30. Practice what was talked about in today's segment. So that's the educational segment that is on the different TV networks being put on by the Virginia Department of Education. So that's WHRO. And from 1:15 to 1:30, and then it says you can practice the skill that is being talked about in the segment. For math today, it says, I measured the top of my kitchen table with a spoon. It was 12 spoons long. So we're talking about measurement today. And when we were in school, we said that non-standard units of measurement are when we take things that you might find in a classroom or at your house to measure. We're not using standard units of measurement would be things like rulers, because those are things that give us the specific inches and centimeters. Non-standard units of measurement are items that we use to measure with. Now, when we do use non-standard units of measurement, so it said, I measured the top of my kitchen table with a spoon. It was 12 spoons long. We have said when we use non-standard units of measurement, you can't be using one small spoon, then a big spoon, then a really tiny spoon. They have to be the exact same size, or else it's not a good measurement. We don't really know how many spoons long it is, because if we used all small spoons, it would take more spoons to measure the table than if we used all big spoons. So if you're mixing them up together, it's just not a good measurement. So what you need to do, so say you're using Sharpies, you're measuring something with Sharpies. You cannot take the next Sharpie and overlap it like this. It needs to go end to end. We're not overlapping because that's also not a good measurement. You need to place it end to end so that you can clearly count how many Sharpies long your table was, or whatever it may be that you're measuring. So it says, find a piece of furniture to measure and choose what you will use to measure it. So you could use your hand, shoe, toy, anything. But, so if you're using your hand, you would place your hand down, mark where the end of your hand goes to, and then that's where you would do the next one, and so on and so forth. So you need to make sure if you're using your shoe, you place your shoe down, put a line or your finger where that shoe ends, and then when you put the next shoe down, you match it up end to end with where the last one ended, and then you could measure where that one ended and go on. So you get to choose the piece of furniture that you are measuring, and you get to choose what you are measuring it with. Choose another piece of furniture and measure that with the same object you used to measure the first thing. So if you choose to measure your kitchen table with a shoe, figure out how many shoe lengths long your table is, then pick a different object in your home, a different piece of furniture to measure with your shoe. So if you choose the table first, maybe then you pick the coffee table or the length of your bathroom floor. But you're still using the same thing. So if you measure your kitchen table with your shoe, then measure the length of your bathroom floor with your shoe. Compare the two things you measured. Which was longer, which was shorter? How do you know? So since you're both measuring both of them with your shoe or whatever object you picked, you should be able to say, oh, this one was longer than this one because I used the shoe for both of them, and this one took, say, 20 shoe lengths, and this one and the bathroom floor took 12. So you should be able to say which was longer, which was shorter, and how do you know? Then it says record your findings with pictures, numbers, and words. So you're going to pick one piece of furniture to measure with an object, then measure a different piece of furniture, a different thing in your home with the same object, and answer the questions, which was longer, which was shorter, and how do you know? Record your findings with pictures, numbers, and words. So on just a piece of paper, if you measured the length of a table, you could try and draw a picture of the table and your shoe and show me how many shoe lengths long it was, and then show me a picture of the other piece of furniture or thing in the house that you measured and show me how many shoe lengths long that was, and explain which was longer, which was shorter, and how do you know with pictures, numbers, and words. Then it says optional. Choose something else to measure in your house. So after you finish your work for that, you can just continue to measure something just to kind of experiment and see how long or short things in your house are. So that's what you're doing for math today. Doing a little bit of measurement. Then we are at content, which remember is our new information that we're learning. So it says changes in Virginia. Look at the picture on pages 54 and 55. What do you see that is the same on both pictures? Ships, carrying goods, houses, the log wall, etc. And what's different? So we're going to look at the picture on pages 54 and 55. Let me get to that. Okay. So we're looking right here. It says it was not easy, but Jamestown survived. In time, it grew. People began to move to other parts of Virginia and built new towns and settlements. How did life change in the years after Jamestown was settled, Virginia in the 1700s? But right now, we're just looking at the picture. And it is your job to answer the questions. What do you see that is the same in both pictures? And what's different? Think about what you already know about the history of Virginia. Answer the questions under each letter in the KLEW chart. You will use this chart all week, so write small. So, while you're looking at that picture, think about what is the same in both pictures and what is different. Think about what you already know about the history of Virginia and answer the questions under each letter in the KLEW chart. So we're going to use this chart all week, so you got to write small. So if we go there, here it is. A KLEW chart is a way to keep track of all of your learning. Ask someone to help you keep adding to your chart as you learn more about Virginia in the 1700s. So right now, what do I think I know? So write something here that you think you already know about Virginia in the 1700s that we've already learned about. What did I learn? In this column, you're going to write something that you've learned so far about Virginia from that time. What is my evidence? That means, how do you know this? What did the readings that we've done tell us or show us? And then in the W column, what am I still wondering? So write down any questions you might be having about Virginia in the 1700s. Write down anything that you might be wondering about right now. So after you've written something down in each column, and remember to write small because we're using this all week, we are going to read pages 56 and 57. So right here, Virginia grows. In the 150 years after Jamestown began, Virginia changed a lot. More and more ships came from England, bringing new settlers. The Virginia colony grew bigger and new towns were built. By the 1770s, Williamsburg, Norfolk, and Virginia had become Virginia's most important cities. So, it's saying that after the settlers came, more and more people started coming over from England and they started creating more and more towns. And then it says by the 1770s, Williamsburg, Norfolk, and Richmond had become Virginia's most important cities. So this is talking about how it's growing bigger and bigger as people keep coming over. We're on the next page. England had also grown bigger after joining with Scotland. It was now called Great Britain. Now Britain's king wanted even more land in North America. Hard times for some. What happened to the Powhatan Indians and the other Virginia Indians? As more settlers came from England, they took homes and lands away from the Indians. The Indians were forced to move. Another group also found hard times in America. Many men, women, and children were taken from their homes in faraway Africa and forced to come to Virginia. They had to work long hours for no pay. It was a terrible way to live. So these were people that were being taken from their homes in Africa and were being forced to come to Virginia, and they had to do work for no pay. And a lot of times, this is very physical, manual labor that took a long time and a lot of toll on your body. And people were not very nice to them at all. And so these were the African American people that were taken from Africa to come to Virginia. So very sad, this page, about how the Native Americans and the African Americans that were taken from their homes in Africa, very sad about how they were treated. But it's important that we learn about it. So after reading those pages, the directions say, what new information did you learn? How do you know? What are you still wondering? Add ideas to the KLEW chart. And then after we do that, share what you wrote on English settlers and Virginia. Cause and effect map with someone in your home. Okay. So after we've read those 2 pages, you need to add something else to your KLEW chart. Add something else to each column. So after we read those 2 pages, what do I think I know now? What did I learn? What is my evidence? So how do I know that I learned that? And what am I still wondering after reading those 2 pages that we just read? Then it says, right down here, a cause is something that makes something else happen. It answers the question, why did this happen? An effect is what happens because of the cause. It answers the question, so what happened? So we're going to fill in the cause and effect chart for the English settlers and Virginia in the 1700s. So for example, the cause for this says, more and more English ships sailed to America. So what happened because of that? More people are living in Virginia. New towns are built. So for this next one, all we have is the effect. So you need to think about what caused this. Powhatan people had their homes and other land taken from them. Why do you think that happened? Powhatan people had their homes and their land taken from them. What caused that? When you figure that out, you'll write that in this box. Think about what we just read in the 2 pages before. If you need to reread them, go ahead and do that. Then we have a cause right here. Many men, women, and children were taken from their homes in Africa by the settlers of Virginia. So, what happened because of that? What were they being forced to do? Again, that was in the reading that we just did, so if you need to go back and look at it, go ahead and do that. Then it says try to make your own. Based on other information that you learned from the reading, what is something that happened and what happened because of that? And try and come up with 2 on your own. A cause and effect here, and then a cause and effect here. And like I said, reread to try and figure something out. Look at your KLEW chart to try and think of some more cause and effects that you could write for yours. And then it says to share what you wrote on English Settlers and Virginia and the Virginia cause and effect map with someone in your home. So after you fill that out, the causes and effects, share that chart with someone in your home. That is all of the work that is in the packet for today. Like I said, I really appreciate the people that are sending in work. At the end of this week, we'll ask that you send in again 2 pieces of work from each subject, reading, writing, math, and content, to be 8 activities in all. And we will mark those turned in items as turned in and provide feedback on that work. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. And if you have any other concerns about anything in general, please reach out to us. And if we don't know the answer to your question, we will absolutely contact the people to help us figure that out. Very exciting about our field day, May 8th. Opening ceremony is May 7th. So some information about that came in our weekly email, and looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So I definitely plan on participating, and hopefully you guys will too. We have a Zoom call tomorrow at 5:30 and Thursday at 1 o'clock that I hope that I will see you at. And I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. I love you and I miss you.